You know, when we think of Robert Frost, we often picture poems about nature, right? Snowy woods, paths not taken, but some of his most powerful work gets right into human tragedy and these huge economic divides. So today we're going to dive into one of his sharpest critiques of society, A Roadside Stand. It's a poem that honestly feels just as relevant now as it did almost a century ago. Right from the very first line, Frost just paints this scene of quiet desperation. And that word, pathetically, it's not him judging them, you know? It's about this deep, profound sadness. This isn't just some little shop on the side of the road. It's a plea. It's this desperate hope pushing back against the constant motion of the modern world. So what Frost does is he builds this entire poem on a single, really stark contrast. It's like a collision between two different Americas, two ways of life that exist right next to each other but never actually connect. On one side, you've got the slow, hopeful world of the countryside, and on the other, the fast, completely indifferent world of the city. And the genius here is how he uses such simple language to show this massive gap. Just look at the words he picks. The Stand is all about vulnerability. It pathetically pled, it has artless paint, and it's filled with a trusting sorrow. But the cars? They're wrapped in armor. It's polished traffic that just sped past. The drivers have their mind ahead, totally focused on where they're going, and they get out of sorts if they're held up for even a second. So, what's this plea really all about? What do the people at the stand actually want from this river of cars that keeps flowing past them? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking. And Frost is incredibly clear about this. This isn't about begging. The folks at the stand aren't asking for charity or some handout, a simple dole of bread. What they want is something much deeper, something that's really about dignity and having a dream. What they're asking for is a chance to get their hands on the cash, the city money that they see just flowing past their stand all day, every day. They're watching this river of wealth rush by, and all they want is one small opportunity to be a part of it, to earn just a little piece of the prosperity that keeps the whole system going. And this is where you really see what their dream is all about. They want to literally feel that city money in their hands, not just as bills and coins, but as a key to make their being expand, to unlock a better life, the kind of life that's promised in the movies, and kind of ironically, by the very political party in power that seems to be keeping that life just out of their reach. But this humble dream of just wanting to participate, it smacks right into a brick wall of pure thoughtlessness, which builds and builds into this picture of casual, everyday cruelty. And the scale of this indifference is just staggering. Frost doesn't say a few cars or 100 cars. He says 1,000 selfish cars. That word selfish is everything. Each car is its own little world, totally oblivious to the real human beings just waiting on the side of the road. And when a car finally stops, you'd think, okay, here we go. But no, the interaction is actually worse than just being ignored. The first one doesn't buy a thing. It doesn't even acknowledge the stand. It just uses their property as a personal turnaround, tears up their grass, and then drives off. They're left with less than they had before. Then the next car stops. And again, no sale. This driver sees the people at the stand not as business owners, but as a free information service, like a human GPS. They just take what they need, directions, and give absolutely nothing back. And this last insult is maybe the most telling one of all. A third car stops, but it's to ask for something the stand obviously doesn't sell: gasoline. And when the owners say they can't help, the driver actually gets angry at them, crossly, as Frost writes. They're being blamed for not having something they never offered in the first place. But, the casual indifference from all those drivers isn't the only threat these people are facing. Frost argues there's something way more sinister out there. The calculated attention of these so-called good doers who show up claiming they're there to help. This phrase is one of the most powerful in all of Frost's poetry: beneficent beasts of prey. I mean, just think about that contradiction. Beneficent, they're supposed to be doing good deeds, but they're also beasts of prey. They're predators dressed up like saviors, and they probably represent those government agencies or social planners who have their own selfish reasons for being there. So their version of help is really just a creepy form of control. They talk about moving the poor into these planned villages, promising them a life where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. But this whole calculated plan isn't about empowering them.
It's about pacifying them into helplessness, soothing them out of their wits, and completely wrecking the natural rhythm of their lives in the process. So, as you can imagine, watching all of this go down, the indifference, the exploitation, it takes a huge toll on the narrator, on the poet himself. His empathy becomes so overwhelming that it leads him to a really dark and shocking place. The poet just comes right out and says it. He can hardly bear it. He sees their hope, this constant waiting by the open window for a car to finally stop, as a childish longing in vain. It's this innocent, pure hope that gets endlessly and cruelly disappointed, and the sadness of it all is just almost too much for him to take.
And this is where the poem takes its most harrowing turn. The poet's frustration and his empathy are so massive that he has this fleeting, absolutely terrible thought that the kindest thing he could do for them would be a mercy killing, to just end their suffering by ending their lives, all at one stroke. It's a shocking way to show how completely helpless he feels. But Frost doesn't just leave that dark thought hanging there. He pulls back immediately. He comes back into the scene, and he turns the question around, right back at us. He asks how we would feel if someone came to us and offered to put us gently out of our pain. It forces us to confront the horror of his suggestion, and by doing that, to really understand the depth of the suffering that could inspire such a desperate thought. The poem gives no answers. It just leaves you with the weight of that question.